everyone. It's me, Mr. Ted, coming to you from Perry Highway Lutheran Church. This is our classroom, talking with you today about our exciting Sunday school, where we're going to be learning about the faith of a mustard seed. Now, what is a mustard seed? Do you even know? Anybody? By the raise of hands, how many people have ever put mustard on anything before? I have. I like mustard on my hot dogs. Well, what we learn about mustard is that mustard has a very teeny tiny seed, but it grows into a large tree. And at the time Jesus is telling this parable, that is a common bush or a common tree in the area. I want you to think of an acorn, a common oak tree, an acorn. An acorn is about this big, but oak trees are huge, or maybe a pine cone. The seeds on a pine cone are extremely tiny, but the tree grows to be huge and mighty. Jesus uses this parable to teach us about faith. I want you to think about it another way. How many of you have a cell phone? Raise your hand if you have a cell phone. What gives a cell phone its power? Let me hear it. The battery, that's correct. And does a battery ever run out of power? Sure it does, all the time. And my phone runs out of power all the time. And we can tell whether a phone is running out of power by looking at the top, at the meter up there. But if you don't have a meter, let's pretend meters didn't exist, you would have no idea how much power it has, right? So how do we recharge it? That's right, you have to plug it in, or else our cell phone dies. And today's story, we hear about Jesus telling his disciples about how they can increase their faith, how they can make their faith greater, how they can make their faith stronger. But he tells them, even if you have a little itty bitty of faith, like the size of a mustard seed, it can grow huge and big. But the proof is that it needs to be recharged. Not the proof, I guess the truth. The truth is it needs to be recharged. We have to plug it in. And there's a lot of different things that we can do to recharge. But I want you to take a look at a video all about a mustard seed growing.
Hey kids, have you ever thought about the size of your faith? If it was like a pair of shoes, would it be toddler size, kid size, or adult size? Do you think the size of your faith matters? Well, Jesus had some very important things to say about the size of your faith. He didn't want people to feel bad about how little faith they had. Sometimes followers of Jesus wondered if he was smart enough, or big enough, or strong enough. Whenever they had those thoughts, it showed that their faith was small. But Jesus wasn't worried about it because he knew a secret. Even just a teeny bit of faith is enough for God. Did you know that? Can you believe it? God doesn't need you to be a superhero of the faith who can fill some really, really big shoes. He just needs you to have a little bit of faith, and he can do a lot with it.
The apostles said to the Lord, "Show us how to increase our faith." The Lord answered, "If you had faith even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, 'May you be uprooted and thrown into the sea,' and it would obey you."
Did you know that the mustard seed is really, really small? They're tiny. I have like 5 of them right here. They're so small, I promise. That's why Jesus used them in his parable. Have you ever helped your parents plant in a garden? You use the little seeds in the packet, and after you water it and care for it, eventually it turns into a tomato, or a pumpkin, or a mustard. That's how seeds work, and that's how faith works. You see, a little faith in a big God is a big deal. Believing in Jesus isn't about how smart, or great, or faithful we are. It's about how great God is.
That's why a little faith goes a long way when we put our faith in the right place. Have you put your faith in Jesus?
If so, you can trust him to grow that faith a little more every day.
So what do we need to do to recharge our faith? Well, there's a lot of things we can do. We can come to Sunday school together. We can worship in church together. We can learn about God. We can tell others about God. We can pray and listen to God. We can talk with God about God with family and friends. These are all ways that we can recharge. And being with your family and talking about these things is a wonderful way to recharge. And if we continue to do that, if we continue to recharge ourselves, we'll have greater and greater faith each and every day. And that's good news. So we're going to go ahead and close with a little repeat after me prayer. So let's bow our head, fold our hands, and repeat after me. Dear God, we thank you for Jesus, who taught us to recharge our faith. Help us to recharge our faith every day. It's in His name we pray. Amen. Hope you guys enjoyed today learning about mustard seed faith. I hope you can continue to do that out in your world, out in your school, out in your teams. Have fun, and I can't wait to see you guys soon.
This is a story about faith. One day, a young boy found a packet of seeds. On the outside of the packet, there was a picture of corn. And inside the packet, there were seeds that looked like corn. The boy thought they were corn seeds. He believed they were corn seeds, but he didn't know if they would really grow into corn. Maybe they got mixed up with some other seeds. Or maybe they were just pretend seeds. Then the boy had an idea. I need to do something, he said. I need to plant the seed. If it grows into a corn plant, then I'll know that the seeds are real. The boy needed to find a good place to plant the seed. There were too many rocks in the soil, and it was too rough. So he moved all the rocks, and he raked the soil until it was just right. He dug a hole in the soil with a shovel. He put the seed in the hole, and then he covered up the hole with the shovel. He watered the seed, and the seed got lots of sunlight. The next day, he watered the seed, and the seed got lots of sunlight. And the next day, he watered the seed, and the seed got lots of sunlight. Then, some weeds came up around the seed. So, he pulled the weeds, and he watered the seed. And the next day, more weeds came up. So he pulled the weeds, and he watered the seed. And the next day, more weeds came up. So he pulled the weeds, and he watered the seed. And he watched, and he waited, but nothing happened. So he watered the seed and pulled out the weeds. He watered the seed and pulled out the weeds. He watered the seed and pulled out the weeds. And he watched, and he waited, but nothing happened. The boy was getting really tired, but he still had faith. So he watered the seed, and he pulled out the weeds. And he watered the seed, and he pulled out the weeds. And he watered the seed, and he pulled out the weeds. And he watched, and he waited, and then something happened. The seed started to grow. So he kept watering the seed, and he kept pulling the weeds, and the seed kept growing. And he kept watering the seed, and he kept pulling the weeds, and the seed kept growing. And he kept watering the seed, and he kept pulling the weeds, and the seed kept growing. It grew and it grew until it was the biggest corn plant the boy had ever seen. And it grew lots of corn. The scriptures teach us that having faith in Jesus Christ is just like planting a seed. We can make a place in our hearts for Jesus Christ, just like the boy made a place in the soil for his corn seed. And when we read the scriptures, say our prayers, and try to keep the commandments, that's like watering the seed, pulling the weeds, and giving light to the seed. Faith in Jesus Christ is the first principle of the gospel. If we really believe in Jesus Christ, we can show our faith by doing what He's asked us to do. Sometimes it will be hard work. Sometimes we'll get tired. But if we don't give up and we keep doing what He asks us to do, then joy and happiness will grow in our hearts, and then we'll know that Jesus Christ is really our Savior.